You're watching a More Beautiful World podcast with Susan Renee, a channel for those of you with open minds and courageous hearts who are looking for guidance on your trauma healing and personal transformation journeys. Here, I share with you the powers of intentional plant medicine use, along with other holistic therapies and spiritual guidance to guide you on your path forward. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned in working with these sacred plant medicines on my own journey, including the knowing that what we do to heal ourselves, we do to heal the whole collective. Join me as I share my experiences, knowledge, and wisdom to guide your trauma healing so you can transform your life, and so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. In this episode, we are going to explore how you can become the hero of your own story. On the recovery and transformation journey, a main goal is to strip away the alter egos, to let go of the addictions and the stories that no longer serve us, so we can become the true self. And I believe that to do so, you must become the hero of your own story. In this episode, I'll be covering what it means to be the hero of your own story and how you can take this concept and apply it into your own life as you move through your own recovery and transformation process. I'll also be sharing how our limiting beliefs may be playing a role in keeping us from this story and what you need to do to recognize those limiting beliefs and let them go. So if you are eager to learn how you can empower your recovery and transformation by becoming the hero of your own story, then this episode is for you. I want to start today with a bit of a backstory on how this episode even came into existence. I've been working to cultivate my own personal awareness around the stories and beliefs that I have been holding on to. And as I have in my own personal practice, I've also been noticing how much others in my life are holding on to their own stories. As I've been interacting with clients or my partner or loved ones or friends, right? I'm just noticing how much we tend to hold on to these stories and allow them to define ourselves. And this isn't coming from a place of judgment. This is just coming from a place of observation. And as I was again reflecting on it both personally as well as seeing it in others, it got me really thinking about the recovery and transformation journey and how your story or your belief systems really play a role in how you are acting and how you are showing up in the world. I've talked a lot in previous episodes about writing a new story, for our lives. And I've also talked about upgrading our belief systems, right, in order to better ourselves and improve our lives. And it's something I take to heart, and I really have brought into my own self-development practice as I have gone on my journey of transformation and spiritual expansion. And I want to explore today what it takes to really make this happen. How do we fully lay down our old stories and start becoming who we want and desire to be? With that, an analogy that has been resonating with me lately for this process and this concept is to become the hero of your own story. I've been feeling like this is at the heart of our transformation, this journey to our true self. For a long time, I've been doing positive affirmations, and one affirmation I have been loving for a while now is this: I am the hero of my own story, and a bold new chapter is on the rise. So how do we then become the hero? How do we write this new chapter? As I pondered and fell into these questions, I came to understand a few things about becoming the hero of our own story that I will be sharing with you today. So, as I was moving through this process and thinking about all of these things and feeling into all of this, I then stumbled onto a blog by one of my favorites, Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he talked about how in this life it is like being on a stage and how we can, with this concept of self development and self improvement, actually think about ourselves as actors, performing on the stage. I'm going to do my best to summarize his perspective and kind of weave in some of the analogies of that throughout this podcast, because I do feel it really conveyed this process quite well. And it fits precisely into this concept of becoming the hero of your own story. So, anyone out there who is on this journey of change, of recovery, or of transformation, really is in a similar role as an actor taking on a new part, a new role in a movie or a play. And when we want to take on a new character, or a new role in our lives, that makes us in some way, shape, or form, we have to lay down the old character. And that old character could be parts of ourselves, it could be old habits, and it could be old belief systems. But we have to do that in order to embrace the new, right? In order to be able to take on a new role, a new character. And hopefully in our process, as we are here journeying together, we're attempting to become a more evolved and enlightened version of ourselves. Where a little bit of a difference is sometimes actors, right, have to temporarily take on a role that might include some pain or some suffering. So we're going to be talking about that more evolved, enlightened path, right? And stepping into that version of ourselves. And as I thought about this concept of like, you're an actor, right? Taking on this new role, this journey definitely, right? It's going to take some courage to do so. And this is where I really started to see the parallels for living out our hero's journey. Again, I know we've all seen this, right? In a movie or in a play, time and time again. We have these fictional protagonists, right, in our story, in our movie, in our play, and they have aspirations and dreams, just like we do. And in order to achieve those aspirations, in order to achieve those dreams, we have to, maybe as in movies, if you're into Lord of the Rings, maybe you have to take the journey to Mordor, and return the ring to the fires, of Mordor. Maybe if you're a Star Wars fan, right, you have to take down the Death Star, right, and defeat Darth Vader. Or maybe if you're a Wizard of Oz fan, maybe you need to follow the yellow brick road for your journey, in order to achieve your dream, in order to achieve the outcome that you've set forth for yourself. Whatever it is, we have to set out on this path of discovery. We have to set out on the hero's journey as we enter into this unknown state for ourselves. And again, this journey definitely takes courage and also some willingness to even go on the journey. Along with that, while we're on these journeys, we are bound to come up against obstacles. They might be internal or external. And more than likely, just as we see in the movies, right? You yourself, right? As the protagonist, you might fall and you might fail. And usually this is because of some flaw, in the character, right? That be it in the movie or in ourselves, some character flaw that prevents us from rising above these limitations and these challenges. And again, these limitations or challenges can be internal or external, maybe a little mixture of both. Though oftentimes it comes down to having the internal strength, the resilience, and the fortitude to rise up through these challenges, to overcome them and to overcome these obstacles to get us to the other side. And on that other side is where we become the hero. So in order to transform into that hero, we must overcome these obstacles, right? We have to overcome these limits, the resistance maybe that's coming up. And ultimately, what that comes down to is overcoming our old self, overcoming those old stories, those old patterns. And this is where it comes down to the internal work that must be done for our transformation. So, whatever your motivation is, you're likely empowered to choose which aspects or which characters that you want to take on this journey, as well as which ones you want to leave behind. You get to decide when it makes sense to release the essence of the old character, and maybe it's fully, maybe it's partially, depending on what is going to serve you moving forward. You can keep the habits, the aspects that serve you, right? And you can leave behind those habits, aspects that are no longer serving you. One thing Dr. Joe Dispenza talked about is, if you, as your old self, or maybe as you are right now, right? If we think about ourselves right now as the old self, if you are someone who is embodied, and suffered a lot, right? Embodied a lot of pain and embodied a lot of suffering. If we take this concept of an actor, you can decide that you're through with that act. You're through with the pain. You're through of that suffering. And you can let go of that character and let go of that suffering. And you can choose not to carry any of it forward into your new life. Again, you can choose to end the suffering from that story. And this, I believe, is the hero's journey. This is a big thing we need to do in order to become the hero of our own story, to be able to, again, be through with that act, right? Lay down those characteristic traits that include the pain and the suffering so we can embrace and embody these new thought patterns, these new ways of being into our new life. So when we have desire, when we have willingness, and when we have courage to go through a recovery and transformation process, again, we enter into this cycle of laying down old versions of ourselves again and again and again. And we do this in order to create space so we can give our time, our attention, and our energy to our new self, to this new future that we are creating. And to do this, we need really an entirely new level, a new way of being in body, mind, and spirit. And this takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of grace, as well as some compassion. So how do we actually do it? How do we get on this hero's journey? There's a few things I want to talk about. But first, I think it's important to really lay down the concept and the foundation of the fact that just like we are actors, right? Taking this analogy of being an actor, just like we are actors that would be on a stage or a set, we need to be reciting our lines and acting out our behaviors every single day by rehearsing them again and again. So an actor's got to practice their lines. They got to practice the personality of this role that they're taking on. And we need to do the same thing. We need to rehearse again and again. So to start this process, as always, with just about every process I talk about, I think it's important that you ask yourself, are you right now moving through your life consciously or unconsciously? How are you showing up on the stage right now? What lines and what behaviors are you acting out right now? And are you doing them consciously or unconsciously? Again, as with many things I talk about, it does start with expanding your self-awareness and choosing to be mindful and conscious of how you are being. So as you do this, ask yourself, are you actively participating in choosing who you want to be and how you want to act? Are you choosing your feelings? Are you choosing your thoughts? Are you choosing your behaviors that you want to embody? Or, on the contrary, are you performing those same boring, predictable, and comfortable, lines, right, and behaviors from the same old show every day? Remember, you get to make a choice every morning to practice being your new character and bringing in these new thoughts, these new feelings, these new, behaviors. And you have an opportunity to practice it all day long if you choose to. Actually, you really have that chance in every single moment of every day. And the awesome part about it is, even if you don't get it right the first time, you know, you can always begin again. Just like an actor on a set, right? You can do another take. Because here there is no such thing as failure. Everything you go through in this process is all information and feedback. So you keep that in mind and you use it to keep learning, right? And then you go back and you keep rehearsing and maybe you keep experimenting. Maybe you're trying on a few different things. And as we continue, this process, right, of learning and rehearsing and experimenting, I really love what Dr. Joe Dispenza said about this. He said, you keep believing, you keep behaving, and you keep becoming. So remember, you are not only the actor that is taking on these new character traits, right? This new role. You are also the writer. You are the director. You are the editor. You are the producer. You are all the things that go into your creation of your script. And you get to make any changes that you desire in each and every moment. But the key here, the key that I really want to get to talking about, though I think all of this context is so important to this journey, to become the hero of your own story. A big key here is we need to learn to embody the new roles and free ourselves from the old ones. And this will require energy. It will require awareness. It will require intention as well as practice. Because you need to continuously choose that you are the hero of your own story. And you need to empower yourself to act and feel the characteristic traits of your hero in each and every day. And hopefully, when you get really good at it, in each moment of every day. So in this work, there are two things going on here I want to talk about that I feel will be very helpful for you to become the hero of your own story. So in part one, and the first part that I will talk about is that you are creating and embodying the character of the hero. So in this part one, you are working to inhabit these new characteristics. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But part two is you are also at the same time becoming more aware of the ways in which you've identified with the old character that is no longer serving you. And you are working on freeing yourself from these old stories and from these old habitual ways of being. So let's first talk about part one, and that is creating and embodying the character of the hero. How do we do it? Step one, you get crystal clear on the traits of the hero that you want to embody. What does the hero of your story look like? How do they feel? How would it feel for you to embody this person? What is a better way of being for yourself if you had these traits? Ask yourself, if I was this person, this hero, living in this reality that I desire, what would it be like? And again, think about how it would feel, what you'd be thinking about, how it would look. You can really dissect all aspects. But getting crystal clear on the traits of your hero is of utmost importance, because how can you take on a role, right? How can you act out in this new role and take on these characteristic traits if you don't know what they are? So that is step one. Now, step two is going to require some work. All right, because you need to take this vision, you need to take this crystal clear vision that you have of your hero into daily meditation. And this is where the practice begins, because you really need to feel into the feelings of your hero. You need to imagine and envision yourself as the hero. And again, this daily meditation, this is the rehearsal. This is you rehearsing this role, this character, this hero. And it's important that there's repetition here, because you need the repetition to create the new thought and feeling patterns. This daily meditation is your training ground. This is where your hero is working out and getting stronger. Okay? It's your training ground for your hero. It's your rehearsal time. And you need to dedicate yourself to this work on really holding the energy of embodying this new character. It's one of the beautiful benefits that meditation has, is we get to practice embodying this higher frequency of energy so we can hold it, and we can hold it for longer, and it can become a part of our being, and it allows us to, again, embody that energy and hold it throughout our day. So you got to start bringing it into daily meditation. You got to start practicing it. Now, next, once that is feeling good, you start taking that into walking meditation. And really what that means is you are embodying those feelings, and you are acting in this new role with these new feelings and thoughts and behaviors in your everyday life. So this is where, it may not always be perfect, and you might get sucked back into your old self, and the energy of your old self. And this is where you really have to cultivate mindfulness and presence, and you keep checking in, invite in and act as much as you can as this new character throughout your day. And also create moments to check in and ask yourself, hey, which character am I being here? Am I being the one from the old story, the one I'm trying, not to be? Or am I acting, right, as the hero of my own story right now? And with awareness and intention in this process, you really can see some profound and wonderful shifts in some very beautiful ways. And the more that you practice and rehearse your new role, both in meditation and in everyday life, the more you are actually cultivating the emotions of your new future. And this makes you more prepared for new experiences. This makes you more prepared and ready for that unknown, the other side. This is where I would say you are becoming ready for the bold new chapter that is on the rise in your life. A big key here that I just want to point out again is this repetition and rehearsal. All right, you've got to keep doing it. You keep rehearsing, you keep repeating this process, because the more you do so, just like actors rehearsing, right? This is going to become more natural, and it's going to become more authentic. You are developing a new habit as you do this. And in doing so, you are inhabiting your new self. And as you keep this up, it becomes real. You actually become the character. When you keep practicing embodying your character, in the act, you become the character, which is where you become the hero of your own story. And again, remember, just like actors inhabiting their new role, you have to memorize the new script and learn the new lines and practice speaking and moving as that persona. So again, this is where you are practicing, right? Feeling elevated emotions. You are practicing thinking new thoughts. You are practicing behaving in new ways in meditation. And then you work to sustain these feelings, right? These thoughts, these feelings, these actions in your daily life, because that is what allows you to embody and become that character, that hero of your own story. So the other part to this, part 2, all right, you also simultaneously, and work in that process, you also have to become more aware of the ways in which you have identified with the old character. All right, the parts that are no longer serving you. And you need to start working on freeing yourself from those habitual ways of being. So, not going to lie, this can be a little difficult of a process because remember, you've spent your life up to this moment practicing the role that you are currently in. You've rehearsed it so many times, it's literally become you. It's your persona. So you have to choose to be conscious in this, and you have to choose to make active choices in identifying the old character that's no longer serving you or the parts that are no longer serving you, and identifying what you need and want to free yourself from. Because if you don't consciously and carefully select who you want to be, along with who you don't want to be, it will be so easy to revert back to the old self again and again. So it's important that in this process of identifying what you don't want to be, you ask yourself a few questions on your hero's journey. And I think this helps you get prepared for the challenges that do arise on the hero's journey. So the questions to consider, things in the line of like, how will I behave and act when I come up against inevitable challenges and obstacles on this journey? How will I prepare myself for the discomfort that the unknown will bring? And what aspects of my old personality and my old reality will I have to overcome to evolve from the protagonist into the hero? Again, this takes intention, it takes practice, and it takes awareness. And this part is going to also have to be repeated and rehearsed too. So, proactively answering those questions I just posed will help you prepare to operate out of your new character and out of your new feelings and new thoughts and new beliefs instead of just reacting and reverting back to the old. But in this process, I would also encourage you to ask yourself, what stories are you holding on to that are no longer serving you? And a way to do this is to, observe yourself and see if you can catch yourself and what complaints you're repeating frequently. A lot of times our complaints, the things that aren't going so well that we are constantly talking about can really be a window into some of our default systems, a window into our limiting beliefs and perhaps these old stories that we are still holding on to, these old behaviors that are no longer serving us. So as you move through this process, right, of becoming the hero of your own story, and you are carefully selecting who you want to be, right? Let's also remember we need to get clear on who we don't want to be. And with that, you will then be able to clear the stories, clear out the beliefs, and create space for your new character. And this is the way that we break free from the old self. This is how we break out of the default system that we have been in for so long. So I want to share a quick story here of how this came into my life to just help you see, I guess in a real example, right? How to become the hero of your own story. So I recently had a really profound shift in my awareness and in my being as I am working to become the hero of my own story. And I just want to share how it came to be, so you guys have a really good example. So I have been stuck in this cycle of surviving for a while, stuck with just, getting enough money to kind of pay my bills. And just it felt like financially, I've been a little more stuck in survival mode. And I have been doing a lot of work over these last several months and really even over the last couple of years to get past that. And a lot of my work has been, developing more belief systems around my self-worth and, believing in myself. And I have made a lot of progress there. And I truly feel like I've come to really know my worth and know my value and love and accept myself, as I am right now, despite any circumstances. And I've been feeling actually really empowered in these new beliefs and in this new character, in this new role that I'm taking on. And I feel really good about my hero self. I'm feeling more confident stepping into that hero role. Though what I haven't seen is a lot of progress, in getting out of the survival mode. And it's had me, question, why am I not getting out of survival mode? I know, like, I believe in myself and I know in my heart, like, I'm in alignment in so many ways. So why can't I get out of the survival mode? And why can't I fully step into this like hero's journey? So I got my Reiki master, who's also, a shaman, involved. She's my dear spiritual mentor. And ultimately, in working with her, she helped me identify a question I needed to ask myself, and drop into meditation with. And the question was pretty straightforward and simple. Why can I not get past this final barrier and step fully into my power, and step fully into this abundance and into this thriving mode, and what really is preventing me from doing this? So I took this, this could be a long story. I'm going to try to make it shorter for you all, but I took this into a meditation. And as I was in this space just pretty recently, I will say for a little while, a prayer that I have been praying is grant me freedom from the old stories that no longer serve me. And freedom really felt like a key word there, to really break the shackles from these old stories. So I take this question, what's preventing me, right, from fully stepping into my power and really thriving in life? I took this into meditation, and I called in my spirit guides, called in my angels, and a really beautiful unfolding happened. I first got the word permission, which was interesting. That came in, and I realized, as this download and message started to unfold, was that I actually needed to give myself permission to thrive. And I needed to give myself permission to be happy and free. But what came in behind that was that I was still holding on to the belief that somehow I deserved to suffer. Somehow suffering was my identity. It was my belief. It was my role. It was my character. And I was holding on to that, which was very contrasting to this belief I had in thriving and, fully stepping into my power. And so when I identified in meditation that I was still holding on to this really, really limiting belief that I still somehow deserved to be suffering or needed to live a life of suffering. When that came in, wow, I had a really beautiful cry. It was really cathartic, and I was so grateful for the awareness, and I've now been working to let that story go. And in letting it go, I'm now working to stay in this new energy of freedom, freedom from the old story by practicing the new traits, right? By continuing to practice these new character pieces of this new story. Well, also, again, I'm enjoying the expanded awareness that I have now on what the old story was and what I'm up against. So if I see it trying to creep back in, somehow I deserve suffering, right? I can go, nope. We are unsubscribing to that story. That is no longer ours. We are laying that down. And I can continue in that moment then to choose to, bring in the new thought patterns, right? The new feelings, the new belief systems as I continue my work to become the hero of my own story. So, my message to you with this personal share is that you really cannot fully become the hero of your own story, and you cannot embody, these new belief systems fully if you are still holding on to any conflicting or contrasting beliefs and stories. And yes, I know this maybe feels like too simple of a point to be making, but if you are in a similar situation out there where you feel like, man, fuck, I've been doing the self-development work for a really long time and I'm still stuck, it could be time to explore what other limiting beliefs that you might be holding on to that are contrasting with the new beliefs you are working to bring in. Because those are like the magic key. It's like this sweet and special sauce that you need to be aware of and you need to let go of. That's where the magic really happens. So remember, if you want to become the hero of your own story, it is going to take rehearsal. It is going to take practice to really get to that embodiment piece, to become the hero. And you must ensure you are practicing these new thoughts, these new feelings, and these new actions of your hero. And again, as you practice, you need to make sure you are checking in with yourself and doing the work to ensure you are not holding on to any of those conflicting or contrasting beliefs or stories that are going to have you falling back into the old patterns and the old habits, and they're going to keep you stuck right where you are. And these are two key processes that you need to be working in tandem to make sure you can become the hero of your own story. Okay, tribe, that is it for this episode. I really hope you found this episode so helpful, and I appreciate you always being on your transformation and recovery journey with me. Remember, if you want to go farther on this journey and deepen the work on your recovery and your transformation, you can check out my new membership, the Alchemized Collective, where I've created a sacred and transformational container for all of us to do the work of addiction recovery, trauma healing, and personal transformation together. You can email me. You can check out the description below, or you can sign up for one of my clarity calls for more information. But okay, tribe, let's remember this is all about making the world a more beautiful place. And that begins with you. Because as you better yourself and you move through your recovery and transformation journey, you beautify our world. As always, I appreciate you being here. And of course, if you need support on your journey as you're healing from addiction, as you're healing from trauma, as you're integrating transformational experiences, please grab your free clarity call with me below, because I would be so honored to guide you on your personal transformation. That is all for today, dear tribe. Until next time, mwah, much love to you all. Hey tribe, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button below and then click subscribe so you catch future episodes. And remember, I've got lots of free resources for you to learn about the powers of intentional plant medicine use in order to support your trauma healing and personal transformation journey. So make sure you check them out in the description below and help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.